Minecraft Dungeons has officially released after many updates and changes, and it's time through beta in order to deliver a product that I can say is actually quite enjoyable, especially for a hack and slash Minecraft game, because if you say that out loud, it doesn't actually seem like a game that I would probably pitch as the next Minecraft game in line to release. Nonetheless, it is here. Now, I played the game over the past couple of days in order to get my first thoughts together and to deliver to you guys what I think about the game. From the first impressions of character creation, the combat, the core features, and if there is fun to have at an endgame, if there even is an endgame. I will try to cover it all and then give you guys my final thoughts, as well as some tips and tricks that I wish I had known before I actually jumped into the game. Now, before we start, this isn't a sponsor, but the way I played the game was through the Xbox Game Pass, and as many gripes that I have with Microsoft and their Xbox apps, they're actually doing a deal right now. For the first month, it's $1, and then I think it's $5 for the PC players from there. You can buy the game for $20, but if you want to just try the game as well as the other games that they offer on there, I would recommend to do this because I'll get into it later if it's actually worth it to even try the Game Pass for $1 and try out this game, or if you should even pay $20 to buy the game. Alright, so why don't we jump into the game Minecraft Dungeons, and I'll give you my overall thoughts as well as some other things along the way. The game begins and there is a small storyline that ties all of the levels together. You are the adventurer to end this sort of reign to the Arch-Illager, which is pretty much the end boss in the game. It's a simple story to an RPG game, nothing super crazy, but the character creation gives you some different default skins to choose from, and then you're pretty much off to the races to the game. You begin with playing through each of the 9 missions that the game offers you, and then there's also a possibility of finding 5 other secret levels that kind of stem off these 9 missions. It starts pretty slowly, as every game does, in order to introduce to you how the game plays and how it flows. I would like to say that the combat it's actually pretty fun. There's different weapons that you can collect, as well as different artifacts that you can collect along the way. You can use 3 of these different artifacts in your loadout, and these are essentially your spells. They range from healing you and your allies, to having a summonable pet, to castable spells that do damage based on this soul system, where the more that you kill, you can actually fill up a bar, and that's going to determine how long your spell will be active for once you use it. These are a lot of fun to play around with because they can actually play pretty well off of each other, so I would say experiment with the ones that you find and that you enjoy. You are going to find a lot of loot as you level up, so don't be afraid to exchange them out, especially because the gear that you pick up will scale with the current power level that you have equipped. You will have a character level, so every level that you pretty much level up, you're going to get an enchantment point, which will be used to allocate points to your weapons and your armor that will have different enchantments rolled onto it so that you can choose in order to have more powerful armor. This is pretty much where the RNG starts to kick in for how you will create better builds, because the better rolls on your enchantment slots pretty much determines the better builds you're going to have, and you can actually mix and match to see what works well together. The other level that I'm going to talk about is your character is going to have the power level that I talked about, and this is similar to like an item level in World of Warcraft or other games that have it. It doesn't really do a whole lot besides defining the average power of your 6 items that are equipped. Do not be scared to get rid of a rare or a unique weapon that you enjoyed using at lower levels, because it will be inferior by the time that you find nicer items as you are leveling up. Now, as you progress, the game will get harder, as it should, and the game actually scales when you play with more people, so it can actually kind of get pretty hard at certain times if the gear of you and your party members is not that great. It's quite fun, actually, when the difficulty scales up higher and increases, so don't get too down on yourself if you're failing or you're dying a lot. After you beat the end boss on the first difficulty, you're going to unlock the adventure mode, where it gets harder, and this is pretty much just the second difficulty. Then after you defeat him on adventure mode, you're going to unlock the apocalypse mode that has 6 different apocalypse difficulties to play with. While I was playing with my friends over the weekend, we were actually able to defeat the Arch-Illager, which is the end boss, like I said, on apocalypse 6, which is the highest difficulty on the Apocalypse mode with a group of 4, and we all had above a power level of 100, so it's not incredibly hard to do, and after some time you can pretty much do it, but it does get kind of iffy, especially on the last boss and the mobs before so, because the difficulty, like I said, it scales up. The game is not a walk in the park like I think a lot of people expect it to be, because it's, you know, this Minecraft game. But as you progress and find different builds that work really well together, you can definitely feel the difference in your power. Now, unfortunately, that is where the content for the most part ends, is when to kill the last boss on Apocalypse 6 kind of gets pretty stale from there. The other thing that you can do from here is find the secret levels within the game and try to get a full 108 power level setup, which is currently the cap for the game. They do have plans for several DLC packs in the future, but who really knows how far away they are from those. I hope they come out kind of soon and offer some different types of gameplay aside from just running through the same missions on different difficulties, because I actually really enjoy the game. The game is simple, but what it does offer is fun. And like I said, it is a shame that there isn't a ton of content to offer, because I really enjoy the combat and the feel of the game. Now, if you haven't played the game yet and you are planning on doing so, here are some tips and tricks before you start playing. Use the highest equipped items that you get once you go into an mission. Now, I'm not entirely sure if this makes a direct difference to the items that you pick up, but I heard that it does. Also, do not be afraid, like I said, to get rid of these nice, unique, and rare items that you get, because they are going to become inferior as you play, and you're going to find better gear pretty quickly. Playing with friends makes this game a lot more fun. I feel like I say this a lot when I talk about new games or other games that are out, but not only does it increase the difficulty, so you're not just face rolling through the missions by yourself, but it's also just a lot more fun to mess around in the game when you're playing with friends and unlocking these secret levels and just doing random things. Unlock the secret levels throughout the game. There are guides on how to unlock them, and some of them do take some RNG on certain missions, but this helps you give a separate goal to achieve within the game, and the secret levels will help you give better gear and items to your character. Spend your emeralds at the blacksmith and the artifact NPCs that are in the lobby. When you get them, you can actually find better upgrades instead of just when you play through the missions. You can also find chests throughout the lobby area, which will give you more emeralds to spend. And I believe that they kind of only pop up after you defeat each mission on the first difficulty. And then after you beat the boss on the first difficulty, there's one larger chest, you know, that does offer some playing room in order to get some upgrades through the blacksmith and the artifact NPC. My final thoughts on the game is pretty much that, yeah, it's fun, and for what it is, it's a pretty good polished game, but it's kind of, like I said, pretty bare with the content. Although there is not a whole lot of content in the game currently, and like most hack and slash 2.5D RPGs, it is pretty repetitive, playing through the same missions on different difficulties, but what they do have is fun. The music makes you feel like you're once again back in the world of Minecraft, but a little bit elevated with newer and more fulfilling music to add to your adventure. I could spend hours on hours just listening to the music in Minecraft over and over again, and I can say Minecraft Dungeons will be just the same way. While I do not know how much I can play of the game for hours on end, once I end up reaching the max power level, even if I get there, I am kind of intrigued to see the DLC that will come out in the future for the game. Now, I do have a couple of ideas for future content that I would like to see them add in, such as 1v1 and 2v2 arenas. The game could be a lot of fun if they introduced some PvP content to play around with different builds that people are playing with, which I think could be a lot of fun to give a break to the normal gameplay. If the game had PvE arenas, nothing too crazy, but something to put a group of players into a small area and they kind of have to fend off mobs of enemies, pretty much how Horde would work on Gears of War. They can have different types of enemies depending on the different arenas or where they're set in, like the different missions, and maybe for like every 3 levels or so, the loot that you can get will be increased by a small amount of the power levels in order to push the player to do these past just the max cap power level. And maybe there could be a requirement to be like 105 power level as a thing to do at some sort of end game. Draw some of the things that make Minecraft so great and put something small into the game for Minecraft Dungeons that draws the player away from just doing the same thing, killing mobs over and over again in the same missions. So pretty much all in all, like I've been saying over and over again, there really isn't much of an end game for this game. It's pretty much get to 108 and see what kind of gear that you can roll out better RNG enchantment stats on for, and then just kind of do the same over and over again. The game really is kind of bare bones right now, so I will be excited to see what they can add into the game in the future, but I kind of wish that the game delivered itself with more content at its release. The game is a lot of fun to play with friends, and it definitely helps to push that difficulty level. So like I said, play with some friends, have some fun for what the game offers, but do not take this game too hardcore. It's fun pretty casually. You're probably only gonna have like a couple of days at best of gameplay to play, and then I think, like most of us, we're gonna be sitting around waiting for the update to come in the future. Are you guys playing Minecraft Dungeons? Have you tried it out? Let me know in the comments down below. And that's pretty much it. I'll catch you guys in the next one.